Hi everybody and welcome back. This is Triston from utahseo.ninja. I have a green screen. I haven't figured out how to use it yet, and today we're going to talk about beacon news. Now before we get too far into this, there are three things I want to let you guys know. First off is that if you would like to sign up for these newsletters, they're actually pretty extensive. Just to give you an idea, the beacon and proximity marketing one is 3 pages worth of stuff. And then the IoT is 18 pages worth of stuff. So obviously we're not going to cover all of this here in this particular video. I picked some of my favorites and I share those with you guys. But if you'd like to get access to these entire lists, then you can do so by signing up for the Beacon newsletter right here. And then you can find old newsletters. And this is something we just started, so it's just going to start today. You can find our previous newsletters and entries over here. This is on utahseo.ninja/bluetooth-beacon/news. There will be a link to both this and this in the description of this video. And of course, if you're already signed up for these newsletters, then you have already received this in your email. So, good to know. First on our list today is something really neat that's been going on in the Serengeti. And so what they have here is they are trying to create a way for the visitors to this park to interact with the animals that are there. And so one of the things that they did was they built a great big huge tree, which you can see right here. And this tree actually has different functions built into it. So it has like this, hose, so the animals can cool down. They have salt lickers. They have all kinds of really neat stuff, including one of the things that I thought was kind of neat is they have brushes for scrubbing, water for drinking, food for eating, sounds for hearing, and salt blocks for licking. And these are all things that improve the animal's psychological and physical health through the practice called behavior enrichment. And basically what this means is that the visitors can actually control the things that this tree does via Bluetooth. And it's really, really cool. And so it gives you a way to interact with the animals at this park. And I thought that was really neat. And it's an interesting article, so I definitely suggest you guys take a look at it. But one of the things I thought was interesting is actually right here. It says some of the functions are free to charge, and others cost between €1 and €3. And so this is actually a way, I mean, obviously they're not super monetizing this because it's only €1 or $3. But if you wanted to find some way that you could interact with these animals and monetize that, then this could be a really interesting option for it. So just something to keep in mind. Now, again, all this is set up to work through Bluetooth beacons. They do have an app that they use to interact, to interface between the user and the beacon, so that's another thing you want to keep in mind. And one of the things that I thought was really neat about this, one of the things I'd love to do, is if you look at the images they have here, let's see if we can open this up real quick. Yeah, it's not huge. So these totems are actually controlled by the Bluetooth beacons. If you were to put like a camera right here, like a GoPro or something like that, obviously something that the animals wouldn't destroy, but then you can take that and you could also stream that video footage straight to YouTube, for example. Obviously you have to see what kind of coverage you have and cost and things like that, but then that would be something else that your visitors could use and interact with. Imagine putting something like a 360-degree camera right here, like inside the thing. You probably wouldn't get the full 360 view, but if you're a 180-degree view, right? And then if you were to give your users or let your user connect to a VR experience. So for example, you can connect to YouTube and you can do a 360-degree camera and you can have them put on a VR set, which are only like $12 over at Walmart right now. Then they can actually see the animals up close and you can hear them if you put the microphones and stuff like that. And so you'd actually feel like you are right there with the animals. The only thing you wouldn't be able to do is reach out and touch them, but you can still interact with them with the water, with the brushes, with the food, and things like that. So very, very, very cool stuff. And again, this is what I want to build. This is my dream right here. So very excited to see this. Next up on the list is a company called Bosma Enterprises. And basically they're just announcing that they've opened up a new headquarters. It's your typical press release. But what's interesting about this is what these guys do. So what they do is they create indoor mapping for the visually impaired. So they had some interesting things that they said over here. They said 30% of adults in the US who are blind live in poverty. They said 70% are unemployed, which is right here. And so what they want to do is they're looking for ways to make workplaces more inclusive, more friendly towards those who are visually impaired by creating these interior maps of buildings. And again, it's really neat. So you can then use your mobile device to find where, meetings are being held. You can use it to find stock and supplies and things like that. And so I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Next up on the list is a report about a report. So the actual report can be found right here. And what it does is this talks about the growth of the Bluetooth beacon device market between 2016 and 2020. And basically we can kind of get an idea of what we can expect over the next few years. And the thing is that it actually costs $2,500. So if somebody wants to buy me a copy of that so I can take a look, I would appreciate that. But they do have some highlights here. So for example, they said that the CAGR, which sounds like a very vulgar word in Spanish, is the compound annual growth rate, which is a useful measure of growth over multiple time periods, and it can be thought of as a growth rate that gets you from the initial investment value to the ending investment value if you assume that the investment has been compounding over the time period. So basically, we're expecting to see a compound growth rate of 222.8% between 2016 and 2020. We've already seen some pretty significant growth just this past year, and so I think that those numbers are either going to be very solid, or I think it's even possible that they become bigger. Now, they do talk about some different Bluetooth technologies. They talk about different Bluetooth providers. So you have like your Contact.io, you have your Estimo, Blue Cats, and these are some of the ones that I've been seriously investigating myself. They have PayPal in here, which I thought was kind of interesting. So this is one of the reasons I'd love to get my hand on this report. But anyways, so it says that key questions that are answered in this report: what will the market size be in 2020? What are the key market trends? What's driving this market? What are the challenges to the market? And so on. So I thought that was pretty neat, and I would absolutely love to. It says you can even get an hour with the analysts once you've purchased your report. So definitely something I'd love to get my hands on. Like I said, I just don't have $2,500 to spend on that. And then finally, something that I thought was kind of neat and that wasn't actually mentioned in this other report is Sony is actually starting to get into the Bluetooth market as well. And so this is kind of big news because obviously Sony is a very big name. And what these guys are trying to do is they want to, again, use the indoor positioning. They want to use an indoor map, and they want to use this to create a smart office. So what they're trying to do specifically is to create an office where you can find empty spaces if you need to do a conference, or if you need to find a conference, then you can just use your app along with the Bluetooth beacons that are spread across the location to find wherever it is that you need to go. And they're doing this through a program called Nimway, which is kind of neat, and it just talks about what all they do. And so we thought this was really cool. And again, this is another trend that we're starting to see pop up more and more often, looking at these smart office buildings. So we saw the one that was coming out of St. Louis a couple of weeks ago. We've seen the ones coming out of, where was it? Atlanta last week, where they're talking about the smart office for the government buildings. And we're even starting to see more of these smart cities that kind of help you do the same thing. So I definitely think that the indoor mapping, and then also finding some way to connect these devices with something like Google Maps, create like some sort of an overlay with the map, I think that this is another area that merits some more investigation. I think this is something that would be worth looking into. So I'm not 100% sure how I would use this quite yet, beyond simple things like, creating bus routes, or, driving people to, cultural events or things like that, which we've already seen examples of. I know that there's more that can be done with this. I just need to think about that a little bit and see what else we can do. But definitely some interesting stuff. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, again, you can find links to these stories in the description, as well as links to where you can get the entire 21 pages worth of articles right over here. And of course, sign up to get your reports a little bit quicker next week, as well as the entire reports right off the bat. That will do it for me, though. My name is Triston from utahseo.ninja. Have yourselves an excellent day, and I will see you guys again next week. Bye.